and also lots of great skate spots in Shenzhen. Five years ago, my wife and I started talking about adopting a child from China, and we had already adopted our first daughter from the US, and then we had a biological, and then we started looking at where our next child would come from, and we just had a feeling like she would come from China. We started looking for an 8, 9, 10-year-old girl in China, or this was the plan at least. And then as we were talking about China and adopting a daughter from China, and we were looking to adopt an older child from China, one day I turned to my wife and I just said, hey, why don't we just move there? That'd be fun. I mean, we'd have an adventure, we could learn Chinese, our 2 other children could learn Chinese, it'd be a great experience, might be good for the business. And I also thought, if we're going to adopt an older child, then she's probably not going to speak English. She won't know our food. At least we can learn a little bit about her language and learn a little bit about her food. So we thought this would ease the transition if we moved to China. I said this to my wife, hey, let's move to China. And she's like, okay, why not? So we started looking into it, and then really quickly we got cold feet. We said, maybe moving to China is a little bit much. Maybe that's a little bit scary. Neither of us had lived over here before. My wife had lived in Japan when she was a kid, but that was a different experience. So we thought, well, maybe we should look around at some of the other places. And we had some friends who advised us on this. They're like, yeah, you should look at Hong Kong or Taiwan or Singapore. So we started looking around, and because Hong Kong is actually connected to China, and China's just right across the border, we thought, yeah, let's go with Hong Kong. So we moved to Hong Kong in June of 2013. We just up and moved. We just came here. And the idea was that I would work from Hong Kong, but my business would still be in the US. We moved over here, but then we started picking up clients here, and so then it became, well, hey, why don't we open an office at MWI, my marketing agency, here in Hong Kong? And so I kind of tried at that a little bit for a year or two, couldn't really find the right people to work with, and then I did find the right person in 2016, Jason Wong, and now he's our managing director, and he's just taken over the office and just growing it like crazy. So now we have over 10 people here in Hong Kong running our MWI marketing agency. And so we lived here for 3 years in Hong Kong. Absolutely loved it, had so much fun here. But after 3 years, we're like, okay, we kind of know this place, and Jason's running everything, so I don't need to be here anymore. So should we stay here or should we go somewhere else? So we started looking at where else we might move to, and we looked at Taiwan, we looked at Japan, we looked at Singapore, and we got really serious about Singapore, and we were really going to move there. I mean, we were planning on moving to Singapore at the end of 2016. And we went down there, we looked at places with realtor or apartment person, and we were like all set to go to Singapore, and we're like, yeah, it'd be a great place to open another office. And then this is like August of 2016, or maybe July 2016, Wired magazine came out with a documentary about Shenzhen. And Shenzhen and Hong Kong are really close. They're like, I mean, we just came from there this morning, and it took us less than an hour to cross the border and get here to Hong Kong and everything. So, I mean, they're super close. So, and Shenzhen's the 3rd largest city in China. It's also where, it's like the tech center. It's like the Silicon Valley of China. So you've got Beijing, which is like Washington, DC, you could say. And you've got Shanghai, and you could say Shanghai is kind of like New York, maybe. And then you've got Shenzhen, and Shenzhen's more like Silicon Valley. It's where all the startups are. We've got the tech companies here, like WeChat's here. Looking at this documentary on Shenzhen, my wife and I, we sat down, we watched this documentary, and as soon as the documentary was over, my wife turned to me and she's like, why are we moving to Singapore? We should be moving to Shenzhen. Like, why are we moving away from China? We came over here to move to China. We've been there like 10 times. We feel safe there. We know how it works. We should just move to Shenzhen. And I was just like, yeah, I think so. And less than a month later, we were living in Shenzhen. We just moved that quick from Hong Kong to Shenzhen. We forgot all about Singapore. Great place, love Singapore. But Shenzhen was just the right place at the right time. So we moved across the border, we got into Shenzhen, we got an apartment, and we got all set up there. That was 1 year ago. So now I've been in Shenzhen for 1 year, and it's been just amazing. It's this huge city, it's growing like crazy. Shenzhen, to give you an idea of how fast the city's growing, they built more skyscrapers in Shenzhen during 2016 than all the US and Australia combined. That's how fast Shenzhen is growing. It's just crazy. And there are all these new businesses, there are all these startups, the hardware startups, you can do manufacturing there. And a lot of these companies need marketing, so that's part of why we're there, with opening an office now for MWI, my agency in Shenzhen. And also, my wife and I, we're still looking for our daughter there in China. We're searching around, and we're also just having a great time traveling through China, going to places like Guilin and Yangshuo, and we went to the Great Wall last month and got to see all the stuff up in Beijing, and we're learning Mandarin, we're studying it, and it's just been tons of fun to live there. And also lots of great skate spots in Shenzhen, which I haven't had time to take advantage of yet, but I need to get back into skating shape and get out and skate there. But anyway, so that's how we ended up in Shenzhen, China.